Now that you have your system set up and your clients all loaded onto the system, let's see where you would essentially manage your clients. All the action points that you need for your clients will be stored and displayed in the My Workflow Notes tab. If I go to the My Workflow Notes tab, currently, you can see there are no notes to display, which means that there's nothing to currently action. A workflow note is an action point. It could either be a normal note that you send between yourself and your team, a WhatsApp or text message, or even an email or SMS. You can think of workflow notes as all of your action items that you still need to complete. The instructions are quite clear. Complete these notes every single day. As soon as this little counter reaches 0, where it shows there in red, that means you've completed all your current workflow notes. Currently, I have no workflow notes. In other words, no action points. So let's go and create some action points. If I navigate to Clients, I'm going to select a client Jack Parley, and I would like to create a note or an action point for someone in the team. So I can create a note here. I can either create the note for myself or for someone else in my team. Or I can select a note that will be assigned to everyone. In this instance, I want to create a note for myself. I'm going to set the priority as low, medium, or high. And the due date is, when is this note going to appear right for me to see? I'm going to leave it as scheduled for today. You can drag and drop files in here, and you can take snapshots as well and include them in the note. I'm going to create a note that says this client asked me to call back today, and I'm going to create a note. Now you can see that there's an open note that I created for myself, which is due today. This is now an action point. If I now navigate to a different customer, let's go to Sylvie. I'm going to create another note to send an invoice to a customer. I'm going to create a note for myself as well, but I'm going to make it a medium priority note. Also due for today, and create note. And then one last one. Go to Callista and ask that she please prepare a presentation. However, for this note, I'm going to give it an action point for another user in the system, Edwin, and I'm going to make this a high priority note, also due for today. So 3 notes have been created for clients in the database. So how do you know when to action them? We navigate to the Workflow Notes page. If you click here, you can see my 2 action points that are due for today. So I send an invoice to the customer and call back the client as requested today. From here, I can either mark it as done. And if I mark it as done, it disappears from my action points. Or I can also undo it from my page. I can navigate directly into the customer's profile, which takes me to the client and shows me the note. Or I can go back to the My Workflow Notes page and reply directly on this note to say that I have contacted the client. He would like a follow-up call in 2 days. In this case, I'm going to say that I've completed, and the follow-up call needs to happen in 2 days on Saturday. I'm going to create the workflow note and mark this one as done because I've completed this step. When you see them on your notes page, you know that certain tasks need completing. After you've completed them, you mark them as done. If I go back to the client's page and navigate to Sylvie, where that workflow note was created here, you can see the workflow note that was initially created has been minimized, and you can see that it's been marked as done. Now there's another active workflow note, and it's active because it's still open, it's an active note, and it's going to remind me to make the follow-up call in 2 days. But this note is only going to show on my workflow notes page as soon as the 26th of the month has arrived. Right now, I've completed all my tasks for this client. I can navigate to my workflow notes page and move on to the next task. Here I can go to Jack Parley. Here was an action point. I can mark it as done to say that I've completed it, and I can reply to give a next action point. The client says They want to go ahead, so I want to call next week and confirm. I'm going to set another note to activate on the 28th of July. And I'm also going to tag myself and create note. Here you can see that I've actioned the note and there's a follow-up note. If I now go back to my workflow notes, there's nothing more for me to action. There is another team member named Edwin in my company account. I can check all his workflow notes and relevant actions that need to be taken for his clients. So this was a basic overview of the My Workflow Notes page, and also how and when to create and action them. Next, let's delete a workflow note. Navigate into a client's page where there is an active workflow note. If you are the person that created the workflow note, you can delete it. It will ask you for confirmation, and you can delete it. You can also undo your delete if it was done in error. Users that are tagged in a workflow note that you created cannot delete it. Only the creator of the workflow note can delete those notes. When you create workflow note, you can also attach certain items onto that workflow note. I'm going to fetch a picture of Peter Pan and say, see this image. I'm also going to take a snapshot of my desktop background, and I'm going to paste it in here as well. I've then pasted an image. I've also attached a file or image, and I can instruct someone else to complete this action. You've created another workflow note with attachments and an image. I can also delete it because I was the one that created it. You can create repetitive workflow notes for actions that happen often. For example, I can click Create Note, and I can say Send Tax Invoice to Customer. And this needs to repeat. It's going to be a rule that I create for myself or someone in the team where it needs to repeat. I want it to repeat monthly on the 4th Monday of the month, and I click Save. I can then choose the start date where this note is applicable, and I choose the 4th Monday. I create a note. You can see a repeat note has been created. Every 4th Monday of every month, the system will automatically create an action point for the person that you selected. To see your active repeat workflow notes, you can click on this button and view them. You can create as many repetitive workflow notes as you need, and this will help you remember certain tasks and action points on a regular basis. You set these actions up once, and just follow the prompts after the notes have been created. All that's left to do is navigate to the My Workflow Notes page, where you complete all your action points based on what has been created.